Again, my name is Dr. Melissa Raspberry. I serve as the director of the Professional Learning and Leading Collaborative. That's a lot of words to get out. For short, we call ourselves the PLLC team, and essentially we provide professional development for educators all across North Carolina and in other states in the US. We are excited to be here with you for you to learn a little bit more about the Virtual Schools Network. I recognize some of the names, so I know some of you may be aware of what this is, and for others it may be brand new, but we're going to share a little bit of information. We do ask, as I said earlier, some of us have had some technical difficulties this morning. It seems like there's a lot of tech gremlins going around. So if you see us turn off our camera, it may be that our connection is unstable. But you're welcome to have your camera on or off, whatever is most comfortable for you. We encourage you to use the chat box right now. Folks are letting us know where they're connecting from, which school or district. And you certainly are welcome to put questions that you may have in that chat box. Our presentation is probably only about 15-20 minutes though. So at the end, there will also be an opportunity for some direct Q&A. But if you want to make sure that you don't forget that question, feel free to put it in the chat and we'll make sure to give voice to that later. I believe that's all. We are recording it in case others are unable to join and we share that out with them. But I think that's all that I wanted to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to my amazing colleague, Amber Parker, who is with NC Virtual. Amber?
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Amber Parker. I'm Director of Outreach and Support for NC Virtual Public School. And I am very pleased to be here today and to be able to introduce you to our virtual school network. A bit of background, the network is a result of a collaboration between NC Virtual Public School and NC State's Friday Institute for Educational Innovation. So the idea for the network was born back in January of this year from a conversation over lunch, actually, between our former NC Virtual Executive Director, Liz Colbert, and Dr. Raspberry from Friday Institute. They were discussing all of the various challenges and obstacles that virtual schools across the state were facing at that time, particularly those virtual schools who opened during and in the wake of the pandemic. That conversation sparked the concept to partner together and collaborate on the creation of a support network, specifically for administrators and staff from virtual schools across the state. And it would provide resources and support for things like human resources, personalized learning, parent and community engagement, technology, and curriculum. And it would also be a chance for virtual school administrators to network with each other for support. First steps were to set an initial meeting date and identify a planning team to launch the project. So staff from Friday Institute, including Blake Wiggins and Dr. Raspberry, were identified, as well as our NC Virtual staff, Dr. Perkins, myself, and Dr. Murphy. And then since then, others have joined the effort, several who are with us today, including Jackie Stevens and Emmy Coleman. So once the team was formed, the network was officially named the Virtual Schools Network, and then a logo and a mission and vision statement were crafted. And so Dr. Perkins and Blake Wiggins are here today to share more about how the network has taken flight and how it might serve you and your individual needs. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Perkins.
Well, thank you, Amber, for that phenomenal introduction of the VSN. As she alluded to, with the collaboration of the two entities, as well as, and I'll get more into that when I talk about the timeline, there was a team of individuals, including the NC Virtual and the Friday Institute, as well as the 9 individual schools that was invited to what we called in March, the March 10th convening. We came up with the mission statement. The mission and vision statement, which you will see, I will not belabor you to read all of those things, but if you will look at, and this PowerPoint will be sent to you as well, so that you can have to reference back to. But with our team, with our VSN team, and some of the schools that were at the March 10th convening, we came up with the mission and the vision statement for this network. You can move to the next slide, Jacqueline. So the timeline includes, so Amber already covered the inception of how this network was developed, the beginning parts, the initial parts. So when I spoke of the 9 schools, so Blake and myself, Blake is the lead and myself the co-lead for both entities. We tasked and came up with a plan to involve what we believe and what we know is more powerful to get the buy-ins of the schools and the districts. How many of you already know that in order for something to be successful and in order to have the outcomes that we know that can be possible, we wanted to have individuals that are already at the grassroots every day doing the job, doing the procedures and the policies and working with the parents, working in the schools, working in curriculum. We needed to get the feedback to understand what barriers you guys are actually going through, how we could be of assistance, and the needs that are needed in order for this network to be able to support you. So what we did, we reached out to several schools, and 9 of those schools actually were in attendance at what we call the March 10th convening. What we did, we sent out invitations, we interviewed the individuals and provided information about what this network was, and wanted to see if they were interested in bringing a team of 4 to the March 10th inaugural event. So March 10th included, it was the 9 schools. We had it at the Friday Institute, and boy, oh boy, was it a wonderful, engaging day. Those 9 teams brought you would have a district representative where they brought a district person from their actual central office or a principal, and some team members from the school. So that led for a 4-man team. And that particular day, they were able to collaborate with one another, able to share ideas, able to brainstorm and discuss commonalities that a lot of you guys may have. Our task for that day was to engage them, have them to meet with job-alike teams and discuss the things that they were going through and share out. That day allowed us to come back and begin our development of this network. And with that development of the network, it consisted of planning for our summer institute. That particular meeting and March the 10th meeting provided us with the needs, the barriers, the obstacles, the successes, things that when we sat down and when we debriefed and looked over the surveys, although there were different grade levels, different schools from throughout the state of North Carolina or different regions, there were similar commonalities of the needs, the desires, meaning the wants, and the obstacles that many of them were going through, whether if it was HR, whether if it was with curriculum, whether if it was with staffing, whether with different things, just connecting with being in a room with people who understood. Because sometimes, there are other individuals that may be in the brick and mortar, they don't understand what the virtual schools or the virtual academies, what you're tasked with. So we utilized that information and to begin planning our wonderful Summer Institute, which was June the 28th and the 29th at the Friday Institute. We had over 60 something individuals that were there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was 21 schools that was represented. And when I tell you, we utilized the information from the surveys that we gave out March the 10th to craft the sessions that were actually provided. It was a 2-day, like I said, it was a 2-day event. We had a variety of different sessions that was went from staffing to curriculum to district, to district things that would go on with district, including policies and different procedures, to think tanking. They were able to collaborate with individuals. They were able to brainstorm some things. They were able to share their differences and share their challenges in a safe place. a place where they could feel that their voices would be heard. And not only was this just a conference, this was a 2-day conference that really led to what we're getting ready to embark in, which what Blake will be discussing when it comes to this particular network. And so we have been, and if someone can drop the EdNC article in so that you can go back to your leisure to look. So EdNC, they did 2 articles. They did a recent one this month, but they did one before for the VSN network back before the Summer Institute. So we've been marketing, we've been doing a lot of things, trying to get this network out in the face of those individuals who may find an interest of joining. And so I will turn it over to my partner, Blake.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so, what's really neat about this is the theme for the Summer Institute was, the Virtual Schools Network taking flight. And that's because in many ways, we're literally building this airplane as it's moving. And so a lot of the work that we did, there was kind of 2 layers to it. One was developing a responsive programmatic support that is informed by a design process to best meet the needs of the schools across the state. And there's also the operational side of stuff where we're really developing what that partnership between the Friday Institute and NC Virtual looks like as well, and thinking about those and thinking about what is our commitment to one another as 2 different organizations, but also what are the commitments to our stakeholders. And so as Summer Institute's happening, we also have what was interesting about the timing about Summer Institute, it was happening in the middle of the budget being approved and Senate Bill 671 and everything else. So there is this backdrop of also a lot of things are on folks' minds when they're showing up to Summer Institute. And so that leads me to want to talk about the network commitments. As we were getting input and perspectives and really going through a design process, designing with the Virtual Schools in North Carolina, organizationally, we developed some network commitments. And there are really 3. One is, this network, we are committed to convening and supporting and elevating the voices, the best practices, and the unique needs of virtual schools across the state. And secondly, we do want the results of this movement to be an opportunity and a space to start building best practices within North Carolina and thinking about, each of these schools, each of your schools across the state, they're all a little bit different. Some of them are primarily asynchronous, some have synchronous components, some actually have a face-to-face component. Each of these virtual schools across the state they look different. They have different challenges, different contexts. And what we want this network to do is be an opportunity to really identify what are common themes that are surfacing among all of them that are best practices to create the space for everybody to learn with and from one another, and to identify what are some design principles or some commonalities that are gluing each of these schools together. And then lastly, we do want to be a network that advocates for specific policy changes at the state and local level that'll help virtual schools in their operations. Again, each of the schools have very different unique situations, different challenges. And, at the end of the day, the network itself can be an opportunity to surface those challenges and those needs, and then find ways to communicate them as well, and to advocate for what are the needs for the schools. And so that said, I do want to talk about the network offerings a little bit, and kind of where we landed with these network offerings is, as Dr. Perkins was saying, we really applied a design process to this, to where in March, we started to build empathy with our stakeholders, try to understand, surface the needs. And then by the time we got to Summer Institute, we used that opportunity. We had a breakout that was for focus groups, to where we could get a pulse on everybody on, hear what we're hearing from everybody. This is what we think needs to be offered. And are we hearing correctly? And does the cost make sense? Because we want it to be, we wanted to design a network that has a cost that, regardless if you're a large district or a small district, if you're a rural district, that it's affordable for the schools and affordable for the district, while also getting a lot of services for that. And so based on the feedback, what we're looking at is offering 8 online professional learning sessions that will be responsively designed and facilitated based on the feedback that we're getting from folks. We are looking at everyone that joins our network or becomes a partner in the network to up to 4 hours of personalized consultation for the schools. And this could be having conversations about working with the administrator at each of the school around tackling some challenges, maybe connecting folks with resources or other people that are, really being successful in a certain area. But really just 4 hours of personalized consulting. And then also periodic virtual and in-person job alike networking. One of the themes that surfaced in the data was this need for job alike networking, because everyone, being a teacher in a virtual school is different than a brick and mortar school. It's definitely true for administrator. It's also true for a counselor. The schedules look different. And so creating opportunities for folks to communicate. Access to curated resources and archived webinars and tools. We've built a hub in our learning management system, which is like a highly modified Moodle, to where people can access all these different resources, previous webinars that you would have access to as someone that's in the network. And then the big thing here is for participant registrations for Virtual Schools Network Summer Institute. If you want more folks from your school to be able to go, you would be able to get it at a reduced cost. But we are going to be having our next Summer Institute again. So really excited about that. And then also just being able to communicate leadership opportunities for statewide conferences and networking opportunities potentially at those conferences. And what we're looking at as far as cost goes, it's $5,000 for a virtual school in a district. And if there's multiple virtual schools in a district, like some of the larger districts might have 2 schools, the second school would be able to get it'd be half as much, $2,500. And as far as the process for joining, we've extended the date to join or to partner about October 15th. And if you can go to the next slide, this will have the information on how to partner with the Virtual Schools Network. There's a Go link that will take you to a form that will initiate the conversation. Once you complete the form, someone from our team will send an email that says, here's the information, here's how to start that service agreement process. And our cutoff date for this year's network is October 15th. And so you can use the QR code and it will take you to that as well, if that's easier. Yeah, so that said, I do want to also share like how to stay connected with us, and then we'll open it up for questions and just discuss any questions that folks have. But we do have a Twitter, VS V Schools Network, and we also have, as mentioned, Dr. Perkins talked about an article. There's a couple articles that we did with EdNC that talks about its history and where we're going. So that said, I'm going to pass it back to Dr. Perkins, and we can open it up to questions. And if you want to, and as Emmy said, if you want to post your questions in the chat, feel free to post them in the chat.
Do we have anyone that have any questions? You can unmute yourself or you can type.
Kristen asked if there was a recurring fee after year one. It would be each year would be a $5,000.
Okay. So
I'm sorry. Kelly, I see your question or your comment there in the chat about the cost. We were very mindful that we needed it to be a price point that would hopefully not be too prohibited, but it was also something that would help to support this work ongoing. And so we realized that, it may seem as a kind of a large number, but a couple of things that I would keep in mind is one is to consider talking with your folks at your district or central office to see what access to funds that they maybe have available to allow for this. And, perhaps there's a combination of some funds that you have locally at the school level, as well as what they have at the district level. I also would sort of present this as, I know, we're trying to get away from language of membership. It's not just, oh, we're joining this network. It is providing professional development for you and your school all across the school year. So when we have these professional learning sessions, these are going to be open to everyone in your building. I know this is virtual. I'm still using very outdated language, but follow me here. But it's for everyone at your school. And so again, it's not just for a small core team, it's having access to that professional learning. And yes, we have talked about with next year's Summer Institute. This year we limited because of space and getting things organized to just teams of 4 from each school, but we've talked about for next year getting a larger space so that if you are part of the network and you have those 4 free registrations, you could potentially add others at a reduced cost, and or if you're not a part of the network, you could attend as well. Even, and that might be something that you attending and getting that opportunity, then that would allow, kind of open the ideas of like, this is something to go. So definitely want, definitely want it to be something that you all see and it gives you value. And so certainly this is, again, when we're saying that you're part of this network, it's everyone at your school, because we will be developing sessions that kind of meet the needs of what we hope to meet the needs of various folks, regardless of their role at your virtual school.
We have an additional question about the dates for 2023 Summer Institute. We don't have those as of yet, but those would be after school is winding down. And an additional question, is this for everyone? So if you partner with Virtual Schools Network, does that mean that just a few people get to see this stuff? This is for everyone in your school.
thanks, Jacqueline. And please feel free to stay connected to us. I know Blake went over all the social media streams that we have, so just stay connected. We are doing some big things. We have some other things that are coming up. So anytime that you have any questions or you need some more information, if you would just reach out to any of us, we'll be sure to follow back up with you. So I see no more questions. Do any of you guys see any more questions in? Okay. Well, we appreciate your time that you've taken out to come and meet with us today to learn more about the VSN. As we said, if you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out. If you need some more clarity, if you need a one-on-one with any of us that we can explain more depthly to some of the individuals you may go back to the related information and they want to meet personally, please reach out. We're here to meet your needs and to answer any question that you may have. And also Amber just posted in some in the chat some voice clips from individuals that joined or either came to our March 10th or our Summer Institute. so you can hear of the experience that they had. So we appreciate you and your time on today. Have a great rest of the week.